Today I will be assessing bridge housing strategic practices and the choices we make in relation to ethical, socio-cultural, environmental issues. Bridge Housing is a not-for-profit community housing provider originally established in 1985. The organisation began with 35 homes and now manages nearly 4,000 properties. What are Bridge Housing's current strategic practices? Bridge Housing currently runs a 3-year strategic planning cycle with annual business planning. The strategic plan is framed by Bridge Housing's vision and mission. Our vision is to be a dynamic organisation recognised for excellence in meeting housing need, improving resident well-being and governing responsibly. Our mission is to improve lives through affordable housing and quality services. The strategic plan was developed in consultation with the board, staff and residents. The result of this consultation was the development of 5 strategic priorities for the 3 years from 2018 to 2021, those being providing quality homes and housing services, growing sustainably to meet affordable housing needs, supporting our people and improving workplace well-being, governing and managing effectively and engaging our partners and enhancing our industry leadership. We know that Bridge Housing operates mainly in the social housing industry, which offers a very specific product that is secure and affordable rental housing. Rents are set at 25 to 30% of household income. However, Bridge Housing and other community housing providers are progressively diversifying and expanding to operate in the larger rental housing ecosystem by offering other housing options such as affordable housing. When developing an organisational strategy today, the vast majority of organisations understand that operating for the sole purpose of maximising profit is no longer sufficient, and a triple or quadruple bottom line approach is utilised, developing a balanced scorecard that holds them accountable for outcomes across ecological, social and corporate governance aspects of their business. By looking at these factors, we can establish the strategic opportunities and threats faced by the company, and from this identify potential strategies in line with our vision and mission. Housing is in itself an ethical issue. One of the human rights is the right to adequate housing. In addition to the supply of housing itself, the UN includes in this right a number of elements as listed here. We are regulated by the National Regulatory System for Community Housing, which requires us to meet most of these elements in our housing provision. Some elements are more at risk in the Australian housing sector than others, namely affordability and accessibility. For many portions of the population, housing is neither affordable nor accessible. Tenure security, although poor in comparison to many countries, is not a major issue and much better than most developing countries. Other ethical issues include responsibilities to our customers beyond housing. Community housing providers are progressively expected to improve well-being. We're expected to measure outcomes against the Human Services Outcomes Framework, which includes health, safety, social and community empowerment, education and skills, and economic outcomes, as well as affordable housing. We are also responsible for behaving ethically to employees. This includes their health and safety while at work, their well-being, their personal development, and the benefits that they receive at work. There are also ethical issues relating to potential or future customers that are sometimes at odds with current customers. As we deliver a very scarce resource, we are under pressure to both ensure that properties are being utilised appropriately and by those most in need, while providing security of tenure for existing tenants. There is also our responsibility to society and the taxpayer. Socio-cultural issues to take into consideration include NIMBYism, or not in my backyard. Social and affordable housing developments experience much NIMBYism in the form of objection to development applications. This NIMBYism is created by the social housing stigma that comes both from within social housing and from the wider environment. According to Roland Atkinson and Keith Jacobs in their 2008 research paper, the stigma of social housing has increased as the sector has progressively neglected and has been contributed to negative public perception. As the number of stock has declined, concentration of social disadvantage has occurred, as only those with the most complex needs receive this housing of last resort. This combined set of forces has led to the stigmatisation of social housing. This has led to a further social isolation of these community groups. Environmental issues for consideration within the external environment relate to 2 main areas: the construction of properties and materials used, and the question of landlord responsibility for energy efficiency within a household. The current Building Code of Australia does not manage or control sustainability very effectively, and it's currently at the hands of state and local government. And as a landlord, we're required to install energy-saving devices in the home in order to charge for water usage. Beyond this, there is not a lot of incentives for landlords to make properties energy efficient. Increasing community pressure could change this at any time. For the purpose of this analysis, we'll be focusing on the opportunities and threats faced by the organisation through the various issues identified. Key ethical opportunities include an ongoing high demand for our services and an opportunity to expand or enhance our service offering beyond housing should we wish to. The issue of housing affordability, however, creates a threat of an increasing funding gap for our services, making it increasingly difficult to make development and therefore growth a viable option without intervention from government. In terms of socio-cultural opportunities, the social housing stigma that exists, while creating a lack of political will, provides us with the opportunity to change the story and shape how people view social housing. Environmentally, no one has yet stepped forward to lead the way to green buildings, so there's an opportunity for us to step in. However, without financing, we will struggle to do this. So with our threats and opportunities clear, how do we determine what opportunities to chase and what threats we can best mitigate? If we view the social housing industry using Porter's 5 forces, we can see that there are high barriers to new entry for new entrants. As well as this, the market does not offer an attractive value proposition. Amongst existing organisations, rivalry is fairly low. Although organisations compete for funding and market share, customers are not allowed to switch between providers, and so competition is low. Similarly, as affordable housing options are not readily available in the ecosystem, and therefore the threat of substitute products is quite low, the bargaining power of customers is also low. Suppliers of funding such as government and banks is high, as is the power of complementers, also government and the National Regulator for Community Housing. So what potential strategies can be implemented moving forward? Firstly, it's recommended that Bridge Housing ceases to see ourselves as part of the ecosystem and changes our mindset to be a key driver in the ecosystem development. Secondly, we should seek to focus on resource orchestration. Currently, one of Bridge Housing's key strategic objectives is engaging our partners and enhancing our industry leadership. This includes such focus as advocating for growth as well as communicating proactively and working closely with partners. Both of these critical success factors should be bigger as they are focused only on the status quo. We should also advocate to government for funding as a supplier of capital but also as a complementer. Finally, we should work on changing the message around social housing, as this is the cause of many of the threats that we face, including NIMBYism and the lack of political will around social housing. If we change the message, then it is likely to have a flow-on effect to these threats.